Welcome to the Common Man Football Show. My name is James Coburn, and today's episode, we're talking about the Indianapolis Colts versus Seattle Seahawks Week 4 matchup based on analytics. And as usual, each week I collect all of the current 2017 NFL team data in order to analyze and project potential NFL performance. We're 3 weeks into the season. It's not the biggest sample size ever. However, there will always be little nuggets of truth in every sample of data you see, which could become bigger nuggets of truth as the season continues. So stick around as I analyze each week's matchups based on analytics. And of course, if you're new to the channel, all terms and definitions will be in the description. So let's look at the basic information between the Indianapolis Colts and Seattle Seahawks based on analytics. When you look at the basic NFL stat comparisons, so basic NFL stat comparisons for most people that are new to the show, it's basically talking about how the offense is performing relative to the rest of the NFL, how the defense is performing relative to the rest of the NFL, and of course special teams, how the special teams is performing relative to the rest of the NFL. The data pretty much favors the Seattle Seahawks in this game, but you can't discount the fact that the Colts offense is starting to see some more light. Adding Jacoby Brissett, I think, helped them out a lot as an offense. They're able to move the ball more, they're able to be more efficient. So, a lot of this, all the data I'm showing you right now is what they've done over the last 3 weeks, not what they did last week. So, the Colts offense is a little bit better than what is showing right now because of the Jacoby effect, I guess is the best way to put it. So, but overall, when you look at the sort of standard stuff, the Colts defense, surprisingly, over the last 3 weeks, has been performing fairly well in terms of preventing first downs as a defense compared to the rest of the NFL. So that is actually in favor of the Colts. Some of that is because of ease of schedule. They played some teams like the Cardinals, who are not very good in terms of creating first downs, but you can't discount the fact that the Colts defense has actually been performing relatively well over the last 3 weeks. And the Seahawks have been performing at least above average over the last 3 weeks, but not exactly as well as the Colts have. When it comes to the offensive side of the ball, though, the Seahawks have definitely been better when it comes to offense versus the Colts. But again, I think the Colts offense is a little bit better than it's been in the last 3 weeks because you have to add in the fact of Jacoby Brissett, coming in and playing relatively well. Then, of course, when you look at the turnover ratio, the Colts have had more turnover issues than the Seahawks. The Seahawks have not really had a lot of turnovers as offense. But again, I think the Colts offense is a little bit different when you look at the overall sort of data, points because of that. Then when you look at sack percentage, the Colts have been giving up a lot more sacks than the Seahawks. But again, I think the Colts offense is a little bit better than these numbers indicate. When you look at offensive score percentage, both of these teams have not been very good in terms of creating points as offenses. But the Seahawks are a little bit better over the last 3 weeks. Preventing points, both these teams have not really been very well in terms of preventing points. Even though the Colts have been good in terms of preventing first downs, they haven't been very good in terms of preventing points from being put on the board. So that's definitely something to kind of look at in this particular matchup. When you look at turnovers, it's more so on the Colts side. They've been able to generate more turnovers with the Colts. Sacks favors the Seahawks, but both of these teams are not very good when it comes to creating sacks. Then when you look at interception percentage, it favors the Colts overall versus the Seahawks. When it comes to special teams, both of these teams are not very good when it comes to punt return yardage, but they are at least pretty much the same when it comes to kick return yardage, with the advantage being to the Seahawks. Preventing punt return yardage is more so on the Colts. Preventing kick return yardage is more so on the Seahawks. And field goal percentage is Seahawks. Extra point percentage is more so neither, because both these teams are not very good when it comes to extra point percentage. And punting average is pretty even. So special teams is actually pretty even between these two teams. Again, the overall data favors the Seahawks, but neither of these teams are very strong going into this game. Like, the Colts are not really strong going into this game, except for the fact of Jacoby having such a good performance, last week. So that's the one thing I would worry about in terms of this projection and in terms of this data is, this is how they performed over the last 3 weeks. So this takes into account the Scott Tolzien and Jacoby Brissett stuff. So this could actually affect things from that kind of perspective. But I do think that I mean, I'll give it again. The overall data favors the Seahawks, but it is important to remember that this isn't taken into account 1 week of data. It's taken into account 3 weeks worth of data, and over the last 3 weeks, it favors the Seahawks. When you look at the other sort of data points, completion percentage stuff, which I won't focus too much on this. Most of the areas where the Colts offense has struggled with completions is in first down situations, second down situations, and third down situations especially. When you look at the Seahawks offense versus the Colts defense, the biggest areas where the Seahawks have struggled is in second down situations and third down situations when it comes to getting completions. So first down situations have actually been above average, but second down, third down, those have been the real areas where the breakdowns have happened for them as an offense when it comes to completions. When you look at rushing offense of the Colts versus the rushing defense of the Seahawks, this pretty much favors the Seahawks defense, but the Colts do have advantages when it comes to third down situations. So, but the Colts have just been not amazing when it comes to rushing the football at all. It's important to note that first down and second down situations when it comes to rushing is more so traditional rushing, whereas third down speaks to traditional rushing, and a quarterback's ability to create with his legs in those situations. So I think that's also kind of what favors the Colts is because Jacoby is able to get a couple yards of his legs as well. Then when you look at the Seahawks rushing offense versus the Colts rushing defense, this favors the Seahawks offense, but it's pretty evenly matched though. Evenly matched when it comes to first down situations. And when it comes to third down situations, the Seahawks have the advantage, but the Colts are pretty dang close. And the Colts actually have a pretty sizable advantage when it comes to second down situations. So pretty evenly matched in terms of rushing offense and rushing defense in terms of preventing first downs and creating first downs for both of these, for the Seahawks offense versus the Colts defense. Then when you look at the passing game, so this is the Colts passing offense versus the Seahawks passing defense. Most of the Colts first downs with the passing offense have been first down, but second down, third down have been where they've been significantly below average. No doubt in part due to their issues in terms of second down and third down completion percentage. Then when you look at the Seahawks offense versus the Colts defense, the Seahawks offense has been good in terms of creating first downs on first down. But again, no doubt they've had issues in terms of getting completions in second down and third down situations, and as a result, that's really hurt their passing offense. Completions oftentimes can tell you a lot about the strength of the offense, because if the offense is not able to create a lot of completions on second and third down, then they're going to have less opportunities to create first downs as the offense. And I think a big contributor to this issue in terms of creating first downs on, to create first downs on second down and create first downs on third down, I think the biggest driving issue with these is the completion percentage issues. So that's definitely something to continue to see if that happens, because so far the Colts defense is favored over the Seahawks when it comes to this in terms of passing situations. Then when you look at sacks, so basically the sack rate of the Colts versus the Seahawks' ability to create sacks. This favors the Colts, but I would say it's pretty evenly matched. In terms of second down and third down situations, it's pretty close between the two. In first down situations, the Colts are favored, but it's important to note that most of the sacks for the Colts have come on first down situations. So that's definitely going to be a big matchup for the Seahawks, and the Seahawks have had issues creating sacks in first down. So that's going to be a really interesting matchup to see how it ends up. Then when you look at sack rate of the Seahawks offense versus the Colts defense, most of the sacks that the Seahawks have given up have been in first down situations, but they actually haven't given up a ton of sacks. I mean, in terms of overall situational football, the Russell Wilson has not given up a lot of sacks in second down, third down situations. Even though he's had a lot of issues, and this offense as a whole has had a lot of issues in terms of protecting Russell Wilson, he still finds a way to not take unnecessary sacks in crucial situations. So I think this kind of favors him in that particular matchup. And the only real matchup to really see is that most of the sacks the Colts have gotten as a defense have been in first down situations, and that's also the area where the Seahawks have had the least success in preventing sacks. So that's going to be a big matchup to watch. When you look at interception ratio, the Colts versus the Seahawks, most of the interceptions of the Colts over the last 3 weeks have been in first down and second down situations, but it's important to note that Jacoby Brissett, I don't think is a major contributor for this. So again, this is a different quarterback giving you different tendencies. So that's going to be something to kind of think how this transpires because of that issue. And then when you look at the Seahawks offense versus the Colts defense when it comes to interceptions, most of the interceptions the Seahawks have thrown have come in first down situations, whereas second down is a little bit more evenly matched and third down is more so to the Seahawks. So I would give this to the Seahawks. Russell Wilson's not a guy who throws a ton of picks usually, and I just think that this is just another sort of issue systemically with the offense. The Seahawks offense has taken more sacks on first down. They've given up more interceptions on first down, and I think that speaks to that down and distance, specifically with their team for whatever reason. They've had issues with that. So overall, how do I feel about this particular matchup? I'm going to go with the data saying the Seahawks. I think they find a way to win this game overall, but don't discount the Colts. Don't discount the Colts. I think, again, a lot of the indicators that hurt the Colts are because of a quarterback and a team as a whole that is not playing. Like, a lot of the stuff has been Tolzien. Tolzien ain't there no more. Jacoby Brissett's there. So I think a lot of these indicators will improve as Jacoby Brissett continues to play because he's been playing fairly efficient. He's been playing pretty well. And it's just a matter of time before the numbers kind of catch up to reality, I guess is the best way to put it, because it's 3 weeks worth of data versus just 1 week worth of data. So that's the one thing I could say. I'll go with the Seahawks victory, but it would not surprise me to see Jacoby Brissett having a good game against the Seahawks defense. And on top of that, even a Jacoby Brissett-led Colts team actually beating the Seahawks because of just how poor the Seahawks have been playing over the last 3 weeks. Overall, again, I think it's a Seahawks victory, but there's a lot of unknowns because of Jacoby Brissett, and I think you can't discount that. And of course, my name is James Coburn. You can find my work at draftcoburn.wordpress.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at Geometrics. And if you like this content and you want more content like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Share this video as well if anybody that you know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video. Peace.